So as we look at some sample questions in your homework, question 10, we start to get into trying to identify whether we're talking about a permutation or a combination or neither for that matter. So remember, when we talk about permutations and combinations, we're talking about using the factorial formulas. If we're not using the factorial formulas, then we're not really dealing with what they're trying to identify here. So question 10 says determine whether the object is a permutation or a combination. So a 10-digit telephone number, including area code. I do know order does matter when you dial a number in, but a phone number can have the same digits in it, so it does have repetition. So since we do have repetition, we're not going to really call this a permutation using the factorial. This would be a different type of permutation. So this is going to be neither a permutation or a combination because when dialing a number, order does matter, but since there's repetition involved, we can't use the permutation formula. So that would be neither a permutation or a combination. So if I look at question 11, determine whether the object is a permutation or combination, a hand of cards in poker. So when I'm dealt, like if we're talking about 5 cards in poker, when I'm dealt the 5 cards, the order does not matter in my hand. I can move those cards around. So position doesn't really matter in this case. So notice how pair position matters, but again, when I'm dealing cards, I'm allowed to move the cards around in my hand, so position does not really matter in that sense. So this would be considered a combination because of that. Because remember, a deck of cards, there's all the cards are unique, so there is no repetition. So this would be a combination because repetition is not allowed. Because again, a deck of cards, there is no repetition, and order does not matter when you make a hand. So those are some things to look at when talking about whether it's a permutation or a combination. So does position matter? Permutation. But again, we cannot have repetition. If 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 the order does not matter, then we have what's called a combination.